Obviously, I felt a calling, something that I wanted to go into, but I think I was doing that as a little kid, right? I was always pushing the boundaries. Now it's just, instead of my city, my state, now it's the world, right? Kind of going back to since I was little, I grew up being the athlete, the jock. You don't see in the high school movies and all that, the quarterback, the captain. I was that guy, right? And I think that attitude mixed in with American delusionalism from middle of nowhere flyover USA, where you're told you can be the president, you're told you can do whatever you want. And what people don't understand is that is what put us on the moon. That is what made us the world reserve currency. That is why our media and Hollywood got promoted. People don't understand that freaking shapes reality.
In America, I actually don't think it's delusionalism, right? Like, for instance, in America, you see someone on the side of the road. Oh my God, their car's broke down. Let me go help them. And it's not necessarily altruism. It's just kind of like you want to be good to people because you got so much good stuff going here.
You are about to embark on a journey, not just through space and time, but through the very fabric of human perception. Imagine a world where the familiar becomes strange, and the strange becomes familiar. A place where the boundaries of reality blur, and the only limit is your imagination. This is a voyage into the heart of the unknown, where every turn reveals a new perspective, and every story challenges what you thought you knew. Welcome to Bold Perceptions, where we explore the myriad ways people see the world and discover that sometimes the most extraordinary adventures lie just beyond the horizon of our own understanding.
Back in Bold. Oh, it's a beautiful sunny day in South Brazil. I was in San Francisco do Sul, a very old colonial city down in Santa Catarina, the oldest cathedral church in the region. I think it was started in 1550, completed in 1665, but beautiful LATAM, decrepit colonial village on the sea, super safe. No gringos. I had a great time. Celebrate my birthday, my friend, Mr. Ben. We've been on the podcast together. We have a lot of similar things we like in life. I know you're doing Jackson and Company style, Jackson and Co style, and you kind of want to do a little interview with me, a little editorial. I'm so happy and grateful.
Yeah, it's great, man. Nick, it's good to be here. I've always been wanting to talk to you kind of about your lifestyle and kind of how you've chosen this like kind of vagabond slash like globe-trotting jet setter kind of lifestyle where you're like never basically in one place. I think it's inspiring to a lot of people, and that's kind of one of the things I wanted to talk to you about is what was kind of like the catalyst for you like jumping into this? I know you grew up in the States, I think Minnesota, I'm not exactly sure. But how did you go from like, okay, because for me, I always wanted to just kind of, I'm in North Carolina, that's where I'm from, I'm good here, I'm going to marry a girl here, I'm going to hang out. Now I'm living in France, didn't expect I'd be here. So what kind of started this journey?
Well, I was just going to say that, man. You're actually living that talented Mr. Ripley life now in France. I see you on the countryside in these beautiful estates. You got the French girl, so you're living the dream as well. But for me, I think kind of what got it started, I think I've always been a wild child, someone that didn't want to do what everyone else was doing. Either you follow me or I'll be the lone wolf. I don't really care. That teenage angst where it's kind of like you always wanted something more. You never felt like, okay, 9 to 5, suburban life in Midwest was enough for you. I assume the movies got into my head. I remember going to the first Born Identity with my father, the movie theater. I forgot how old I was, but seeing that Swiss bank scene where he whips out a bunch of different passports, and that whole trilogy was really good. But also I think too, so I grew up in the suburbs of Minnesota, and Lake Minnetonka specifically, I would go to thrift stores, right? I got into thrifting before it was big with Macklemore. In 2014, he made that song, Thrift Shop and all that. But I would go to these stores and I'd see like Armani suits, for like $10, a bunch of rich Minnetonka people. If you don't know Minnetonka, that's where a lot of the big money is on this lake. So they just, throw all the people's clothes there. And I'm like, damn, this is kind of cool. Like $10. And I just watched Wall Street, the original one, with Gordon Gekko. Not the new one with, what's his name? The famous
Shia LaBeouf. You talking
Yeah,
about
yeah,
Shia LaBeouf?
that was the second version. But and then Wolf on Wall Street. I'm not talking about that one. A lot of people, think Wall Street. They
Oh,
think
with
Wolf on Wall Street.
yeah, Leo, Jordan Belfort. Yeah.
Yeah, Belfort. But anyway, so yeah, I got inspired. I'm like, damn, I'll throw one of these on. I mean, $10. Like I said, I was always that kind of dude to just test boundaries, right? I didn't really care. I wanted to kind of, go the path that I felt I was going. And then also a huge thing with those thrift stores is I started getting a bunch of old VHS tapes, right? All the old James Bond movies, with Sean Connery. And I did a beautiful reel on this. Like a year ago about like I got a VHS recorder. I bought every old Bond movie and I've just watched this. And I was just sitting there like, holy shit. Everyone loves James Bond, especially us dudes. But really seeing Sean Connery in these exotic locations, doing badass stuff and with beautiful women, I think that was kind of a spark in the back of my head.
Oh yeah, I'm a massive Bond fan myself, and it's kind of the lifestyle I've always wanted to live. Of course, you always can't be a secret agent. You can't work for MI6, but being a writer myself, I've always been like drawn to Fleming's writing because he kind of lived that life himself. He was born in England, but he traveled the world. He wrote all kinds of amazing books. He was instrumental in World War II, which a lot of people don't actually know. He was actually a spy himself, and it kind of sparked that for me as well. If you haven't read the books, I'd recommend you read them because they're twice as good as the movies. Even as good as Connery is, I find that the movies themselves can actually be spoofs of the books, almost like they're making a joke on the theme. The books are much more serious, much darker, and they definitely have something to them that you won't get in the movies. But I always kind of, when I was young, like I said, we were talking about, I was thinking I will live this lifestyle here. I will kind of accept kind of the 9 to 5. I'll accept the status quo of kind of living in the same town. I remember there was a statistic that I found when I was like maybe 20 or 25, or 22 or 21, when I kind of started to wake up to, hey, there's possibilities around the entire world. And that was that, like, I'm going to get the statistic wrong. It's 75 to 80% of people die within like 50 miles of where they're born. And I was like, Jesus Christ, I don't want to be that person. Not because maybe you're from a good place and you want to stay there, but because the world's a big place, man. You got to explore it, right? And so I wonder for you, do you kind of resent that kind of lifestyle that a lot of people live slightly, or do you ever kind of have a pull to go back to it? I know you've been on the road for years now, but I'm curious if you kind of look at those people as NPCs, or you look at them as just people who have a different way of living.
That was a great lead-in to your next question. You're smooth at this. You should start a podcast. But to go back on your bond point, the best part about this, we're living the Bond life without having to risk death. Because obviously that dude's life would have been completely hectic, nonstop, stress, and you have to be a psychopath to handle what he was doing, right? Even though it's a movie, it's fictional, all that. But we're basically living that life without the cons. I mean, it's unbelievable. It's amazing, right? So... to go to your next point, again, 110%, if you are happy where you're from, and I was, for the most part. Obviously, I felt a calling, something that I wanted to go into, but I think I was doing that as a little kid, right? I was always pushing the boundaries. Now it's just, instead of my city, my state, now it's the world, right? But, no, I think, and I've said this many times, the more you travel, the more you appreciate where you're from. Okay, like especially us. If you grow up in the USA and all the opportunity you were given in these safe suburbs and prosperity, and I mean you can leave the doors unlocked in a lot of different places. Like there's a lot to be grateful for too. That's why I was tweeting the other day, and some Brazilian dude, because I was in a dangerous place, a favela or whatnot, and he's like, "What is with gringos? Why do you guys want to go there? We will never step foot near that." They're Brazilian, right? Like, we don't want to be associated, we want to come close to it, et cetera, et cetera. It's because it's the exact opposite of how I grew up, right? So just like you want to go experience that suburban life in USA, that peace, that calm, tranquility, I had that, and now I need, on the other end, the yin and the yang, to experience craziness and see life from different angles, right? I'm addicted to that. I'm addicted to living, pattern breaking stuff. I think that's how you feel the most alive. Do I think it's sustainable? Probably not. But I think you can do it in a healthy manner to what they say. The quote is the moment you stop learning is when you start dying, right? If you just get stuck in your ways and do the same shit over and over again with no new experiences, you die pretty quick, right? So I'm on the flip end of that, where I like to get obviously the most out of life, but you don't need to do that just through traveling. Okay, there's many other ways that I'll figure out sooner than later. I know a couple. But no, I don't look at people back home like NPCs. If you're happy, you stay there. I don't think many necessarily are super fulfilled or happy, but who is in this world? Unless you're freaking Buddha, unless you're Jesus Christ, like no one's got the answer, you know?
Yeah. No, but I mean, it's a powerful decision to make because you're kind of leaving behind like every comfort you've ever known. And yes, like you said, it's the yin and the yang. You have to experience this other thing too, and that's kind of like the journey. I'm not a Buddhist, but that is the journey of Buddha, right? He came from like a very rich background, and then he went to go to be poor, and he's like, actually, that sucks too. And so it's not. I wouldn't say it's a nihilist belief, but there is that like pull to go and do things that you have never done before. I think when you see movies like in Back to Heroes, like you're always worshiping heroes when you're young. Back to like Indiana Jones, like when he goes out there and he explores the world. He's so interesting when he does that. Not because he's like a professor, he's intelligent, but because he's like any other American at that time, which travel was basically for the rich at that point, right? So, but he's kind of like a figure of independence. James Bond, Indiana Jones, they kind of live by their own, like, they're like an island in themselves. And that's what I was going to ask you is, do you feel like as a person who's always on the road, do you have to have an incredible level of independence as a person? Because a lot of people, they need someone around them that's familiar. They need, their best friend down the street. And you seem to not need that.
That's another movie too. Indiana Jones has obviously struck a chord, and I don't know if it's our age, but people like the Gen X, I think, got really influenced by that or loved that movie. It's a beautiful movie. Another one that comes to my mind, and it's kind of under the radar. It was Denzel Washington and Ryan Gosling, and Gosling was some like CIA guy in a black house in South Africa, and then Denzel was this big criminal that went there, and then he had to like take over. But I remember watching that movie. I'm like, damn, this dude's sitting in South Africa, so exotic. He had a beautiful girl, the beaches, all that kind of stuff. And so yeah, I think the movies really definitely played a role in pushing it. But I think it just exemplified or took what I already was doing as a kid, kind of going outside the box and not necessarily trying to fit in wherever I was. But to go to your thing about the independence, now I've talked about this a lot, man. This is a freaking roller coaster, okay? And you definitely need to tick different. You definitely need to be fine being all alone, not speaking the language, not knowing the architecture, not being near anyone that gives a fuck about you, different food. Everything freaking changes, okay? And with that, obviously comes with out of the matrix type living, right? When you're thrown into some chaotic environment, your brain is going nonstop 24/7 and it feels like super alive. And because of that mindset, you have these beautiful type experiences. On the flip end, crazy lonely, crazy hard, totally against any biology you have, evolution about being with the tribe, being next to people that care about you, right? So yeah, you have to be completely somewhat crazy to do it. I've found out ways to handle it big time with the morning routine, right? So this is very hippie, but I think I can create like a home-like environment in my head. I don't need the external world to be my home, right? I don't need my bed. I don't need my family, this person, that person, the bar we go to every Friday to feel like I can create a home with my brain, right? I do that through affirmations in the morning. The second I wake up, I write those. Meditation, of course, working out, etc. I'm also very blessed because half the year, like we've discussed, is that I play American football around the world, right? So I'm thrown into a group right away with a sport that is very emotional, very physical, warlike, so you become brothers. There's some cons on that end, or not as easy as it sounds, because you need to, when you go in these environments and you're being the position I am, a quarterback in this game, that is, people get hurt really bad in it. They don't just give you the leadership role because you're the one getting paid, right? Or because you're the smart American and so forth. They test the fuck out of you, right? And they see if you're really about it or you're not. I'm dealing with that right now, okay? I had a great story I can probably tell in the future about how I handled it, but I'm blessed to have that half the year. I get that bonding, that community. My left tackle's a lawyer. My running back's a business owner, so it gives me that sense of comfort. But the other 6 months of the year when I'm on the road with nothing, and usually I'm not with a girl, like traveling and living with. I did a little bit last year, and now I am too, which. So yeah, like every 4 months you go fucking crazy, right? And you ask yourself, what am I doing? Can this last? What is the point of this? Am I building anything, etc.? But then you wake up in the morning, you have that cup of coffee on the balcony, you see the sunrise, and you're like, holy shit, I'm living a life that 99.999% of people in the history of humanity could only dream of. And then you get over it.
Yeah. It's incredible because you're right about that. That last point kind of struck with me because I'm reading about now I'm living in France, so I'm reading about the history of France. And I've gotten to the point where it's kind of like pre-industrial revolution. And to this point, they say that I think it was it's 4/5 of the country lived in the countryside. So like a fifth of the country lives in Paris, basically is the only major city that's actually got a serious population. And then the rest of the country is rural. And it was at that time very unusual to marry a woman from a town that was more than a 15-minute walk. And so it's like, when you think about that, I mean, we're talking about like the 1830s, 1840s here. That's not that long ago, right? And the fact that you're probably experiencing not just dating, but meeting all kinds of amazing people around the world. And it's like, people could never even possibly imagined it. But you talked about the routine and how you kind of have a routine in your head. I'm curious to hear a little bit more about how that works. I know you said the affirmations, but is it like important to you to get up at the same time every day? Do you have the laptop ready and you have like a special setup? Like kind of walk me through, like, how does it start?
Yeah, okay. The second I wake up, and usually I'm an early dude. Like I feel the best when I wake up at 4:45 in the morning. Okay, it's tough when it's winter. I usually don't go winter anywhere, but right now in the south of Brazil it's winter, so the sun comes up like 7:30, right? So that's a little more difficult. But right as I wake up, I get the pen and the paper. I have 25 affirmations I write, each one 15 times. It takes me about 45 minutes now. I do a weird cryptic cursive, basically writing with them. When I'm writing them, I say them in my head. And after I do that, dude, my brain, my headspace is the same every freaking day. It's the craziest shit. I give credit to Scott Adams. I think a lot of people have heard of him now. He got really big in the politics scenes, but I read his book, How to Fail at Almost Everything and Still Win Big. This is one of his main things that changed his life, and it's totally freaking changed mine, okay? Meditation usually happens every night. I fall asleep to it. So I get in the trance for 30, 45 minutes and I pass out to, some affirmations they're saying or hypnosis, whatever. But, and then sometimes in the afternoon, I eat like a big meal because usually I intermittent fast. I've changed that to Ray Pete. I've been starting to do fruits in the morning and then the big meal and then don't eat after that. But I usually take like a 15, 20-minute guided hypnosis in that afternoon, to work on different things, happiness, motivation, health, all that kind of stuff. Working out is massive. Luckily half of the year I get that with the football. But if I don't, like I need to get that in to clear the brain. Contacting people that you're close with, because when you travel, you realize really quick who's there for you, who's not. So you call your parents if you have them, if you're lucky. You call your best friend. You try to get in contact with people you haven't talked to in a while. Get on the phone. Have that conversation. Do your best every day to talk to strangers. And I'm saying like be positive to them. Give compliments. You see a grandma on the street walking. Hola. Excuse me, bonita, your shoes. Point at her shoes if you can't speak the language. I can barely speak any other language. And just see the smile on their face, right? Just start talking to people. It'll make you feel good. Get out of your apartment. This is like, everyone says this now, but it is depression if you just stay in your apartment, right? Go work at a cafe. Go take a walk. Get outside of this little environment. Otherwise, you get holed up into it. And you let the crazy thoughts and the loneliness get to your head. Does that kind of explain it or no?
No, absolutely it does. And I'm curious, because if you're interacting with people all over the world, I mean, you have to learn at least some elements of the language, unless you're in a place that's somewhat international where they learn English. Do you learn any of the languages? Like, have you learned Portuguese? Do you learn Spanish? Did you learn Italian when you were in Italy?
Yeah, so I'm lazy, right? Luckily, the football, it's American football, right? So people speak English because that's the terminology, that's what they watch, so forth. So I get that group half of the year where they want to learn or they already speak English, right?
Yeah.
The other point, in all of the world, business and the high class speaks English, right? So if you want to stay in those circles, which a lot of people kind of do, I'm not saying it's where you want to be all the time. You're going to be talking a lot of English. And three, actually I have a fourth point, but three, where's my third point? I'll go with my fourth point before I remember the third point. The fourth point is when I buy a home and I start settling down, not living this nomadic life, I'm going to learn a language because I think it'll totally unlock a new experience, really dive into the culture, be a whole different ballgame. The third point is I do not want to hear what every freaking Brazilian says on the street and their fofoca and their gossip and their bullshit. Like sometimes I just want to be in my own world, right? I like that aspect of traveling where it's kind of like I'm not affected by what everyone else is saying or doing, right? I'm in my own little world. Since I was a little boy, I wanted to be in my own world, right? So all of a sudden I know the language and I hear Pablo and Juan saying this and that about the gringo over there. It's going to dampen my mood. Maybe. I've gotten pretty good at not allowing other people's words to enter my brain, but also it's just, you don't need it in a lot of the world, bro. A lot of speaking in language is vibes and body language. That's basically all it is. Like you can go for a long time without doing any spoken words like we did our ancestors. If the evolution thing is true, they didn't speak language for millions of years, right? So, I think that answers your question. 4 points.
Yeah, no, that's actually interesting that you say that because you seem to be a very, what's the right word? You seem to be an A-type personality. You seem to be very, I wouldn't say persuasive. You have a contagious personality, I'll say. People probably want to be around you. And I assume that a lot of that energy, is that just who you are? Is that something that are you an extrovert kind of person? Do you have to kind of put it on? Or you just generally like love to be around like new places and excites you, and then you see a new person, you're like, oh my God, hey, what's going on, man? Like when you go to these extremely dangerous places, right? Can that put a target on your back to kind of be the optimistic, happy-go-lucky kind of American, or does it surprise you how people are actually kind of welcoming to that?
Yeah, good question.
If that makes sense.
Good question. Kind of going back to since I was little, I grew up being the athlete, the jock. Okay, being you don't see in the high school movies and all that. The quarterback, the captain, the cheerleader type of thing. Like I was that guy, right? And I think that attitude mixed in with American delusionalism from middle of nowhere flyover USA where you're told you can be the president, you're told you can do whatever you want. Luckily, I had a great set of parents, especially my father, which kind of put fire to that mindset because I think he had some regrets growing up and he put it in my head at an early age, whatever you do, just do not regret anything. And I think I got blessed with the delusional American confidence to kind of be who you are, do what you want. And what people don't understand is that is what put us on the moon. That is what made us the world reserve currency. That is why our media and Hollywood got promoted, all over the world, and people would look, to the USA as like the greener pastures, the land of the free, because of that mindset exactly. And that mindset, people don't understand that freaking shapes reality, okay? When you believe it and you're that delusional enough, all of a sudden reality starts backing you up, okay? And when reality backs you up, then it magnitudes and magnifies greatly. So I think your question, going into dangerous places, I've been to many all over the world, from the favelas of South America, the largest slum in Africa, in Kibera, in Nairobi, to the floating villages of Southeast Asia. No, I go in there like it's Hakuna Matata. Like I'm not afraid because it's about the vibe. I know the people are going to like me. If they don't, they're going to respect me, and we're going to have a good time. And I think another point is like I don't think I'm afraid to die. I really don't. I had a scare in Colombia last year, and I was sitting on the emergency room table. I was going to miss my family for sure, but I was like, fuck. I've lived how I wanted to live. If this is how I go out, it is what it is. But luckily, I wasn't meant to die that day. So,
well, that's what I would call, what we like Ayn Rand people would call like a good sense of life. Like you have the idea in your head that I would say you have an abundance mentality. Whereas a lot of the world, especially here in Europe, unfortunately, I love being here and I love this place, but there seems to often be a scarcity mentality. Like for instance, in America, and I'll talk about what the point you made about America. I actually don't think it's delusionalism. I understand what you're saying when you say that, but it's like I find here, although I love the people here, that there is that sense of scarcity kind of leads to a lack of kind of goodwill towards the average person, right? Like for instance, in America, you see someone on the side of the road. Oh my God, their car's broke down. Let me go help them. And it's not necessarily altruism. It's just kind of like you want to be good to people because you got so much good stuff going here. Why can't I share some of that, right? And I find that a lot of that is not necessarily here. And I think it comes from that scarcity mentality. And back to your delusional point, it's like, I don't think a lot of people understand this. A lot of people on the right and the left don't understand this. It's that America was founded on a set of ideas. It's not a place. It's not a land. It's not a set of people. It's the first country ever to be founded on a set of ideas. Like back to the Greek philosopher like Aristotle, back to the Enlightenment, back to the Renaissance, the ideas of reason and the ideas of science and the ideas of rejecting the mysticism of the world, right? And we were the first ones to actually bring reality to I would say bring nature to its knees and kind of shape the world in our image. The Industrial Revolution, I think the most important thing that ever happened to mankind, right? Like we went from, everyone basically living on a farm, everyone having to be a farmer, to now 3% of the world is now working on farms, which gives us this kind of lifestyle. We can work on writing things. We can work on podcast. We can work on all these things. And I think one of the things that kind of worries me about when people go, oh, AI is going to take all our jobs. It's ridiculous. I mean, since the dawn of time, there's been technology and people go, oh, this is a bad technology. It's going to take everyone's jobs. There's more jobs than ever. There's more kind of things that people get to do that they don't want to do. Nobody wants to dig ditches, right? And now you don't have to. And that's a great thing about modern society. And now that you kind of live this lifestyle, it's, you realize, wow, the American mindset, it's not delusion, it's optimism. It comes from our upbringing to believe anything is possible. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that was beautiful. Really intelligent. I got some points on there. Okay. Anyone who's traveled extensively will tell you this. There is no nicer, generous, with no strings attached. That's the biggest key. No strings attached people than fly over USA. Okay, even on the coast, some of you guys are good, but the American person is the nicest person, at least in recent history, that you will ever meet, and they will do things like you said on the side of the road, help you out with not trying to get nothing, not trying to do whatever it is. The American person, no strings attached, is the nicest person you'll meet, and I'm standing by that. Okay, but the other points you had, you're very influenced by Rand, which is good. I was seeing a lot more stuff recently about her because someone was saying, oh, look at New York City, the center of capitalism and finance for so long is now going to become socialist with the new mayor or whatever it is. So that was kind of funny. It reminded me of that.
Scary guy. Yeah, you mean this kind of devout socialist mayor? Is that who you're talking about?
Yeah. The Muslim Democratic Socialist guy. Yeah.
Yeah, Muslim guy. Yeah.
So people
yeah, he's a very scary guy. Anyway, continue. Sorry.
People were bringing up her and then being like, oh my God, her writing these comic book villains, but now they're actually coming to life and they're worse in the real world, right? So there's a lot to say on that. I don't know if I'm full-blown libertarian, but I definitely agree with a lot of the points that her philosophy and what she wrote about is interesting for sure. The second thing, the one thing I disagree on with the whole, okay, I'm not worried about the AI thing. I think, like I said, I've lived good already, and I would love to put a freaking weird chip in here with AI, not in my brain. I don't want to, do the whole Elon Musk thing, but to do like virtual reality of a Viking raid in the 8th century in Italy. Like how freaking crazy would that be? Or to be a Roman emperor and do it like Black Mirror. I think this is the most insane thing ever. Like I did what I wanted in my life so far, and now I can experience this. I mean, anyone in history would be like, this is the craziest shit ever. But about, okay, people, AI is going to take the dig ditching jobs and the McDonald's and the taxis and all that. Okay, great. I think that'd be great to get rid of those, stupid jobs. But dude, we saw it during COVID when people had all the time in the world. They were getting paid. They didn't do shit. Okay? 80% of the population, they sat in their ass, they played video games, they didn't do nothing. They didn't write books, they didn't paint, they didn't create a podcast, they didn't do anything, right? So this is what I worry about is how do you placate those people? Maybe they need to flip the burgers. Maybe they need to drive the taxi to get some sort of fulfillment. Otherwise, they sit and they become, what's that movie that everyone quotes now, the 2005 Idiocracy? Where they're fat, they're drinking the soda, and they have their virtual goggles on. Like that's what I worry about with AI. But what was your question to me?
It's a good question. I forgot. Well, first of all, we were talking about the American delusion and kind of your mentality on. Well, I guess we were kind of leading into another question, which I was going to ask you, which is, what is the attitude towards Americans when you are traveling around the world? Of course, you go to dangerous places. You're in the Western world. Yeah, sometimes you're in Western Europe. But sometimes you're not in the Western world. You're in the favelas. You're in Brazil. You're in, I think you said the floating villages of where again?
Southeast Asia.
Southeast Asia. So do these people, they like Americans? I'm sure you run into a lot of kind of anti-Western people, but what's the general consensus?
Okay, I think the best story I could say about how the rest of the world feels about Americans was last fall, I think around September, I was in Luxor, and I was with an infamous Egyptian hustler that I met in Hurghada that invited me to a wedding in Luxor, his hometown, like 4 hours away. But I was in one of their shops, smoking shisha, herbal shops, right? And we did a podcast. And one of the things was about USA and then the Trump topic. And because everyone asked me in Egypt, everywhere in Africa I went, they said, Trump or Biden, Trump or Biden. Before I even freaking had a conversation with them. And 95% of the people, we love Trump. Trump is amazing. We love USA. Oh my God, freedom. A lot of these are Muslim countries too. I've had friends that went to the Middle East, in Iraq, Iran, that said, oh my God, you're American. Let us pay for you. You're not paying for anything. In impoverished countries that we bombed, that they were treated like royalty, right? But I think this story, when I was with these friends, right, they had this envision in their head, like, damn, the whole anything is possible, what they saw, the propaganda, all that, some true, some not, but they met a lot of Americans as well. And that was the big thing, kind of struck me. It was like, damn, these people, they still love Americans. They still love the ideals of USA, like you kind of brought up before. And they fucking love Trump, dude. It was crazy. And they're like, as long as he doesn't support Israel, he's got to stop the wars. Because when Trump was in office, there was no wars and all that. And that they kept reminding me that. And that's mostly what it is. You'll get the people in Europe that are, they went 15 years in school. They make fucking 2,000 euros a month. They have no idea about the real world. Americans are so stupid. Even though we freaking subsidize every single benefit they had the last 80 years, whether it's through healthcare, freaking education, everything. We rebuilt all of Europe, okay? And the Euros, to me, they can never think outside the box. Now, last year I lived in Munich for 6 months, okay? The German is very freaking smart. Munich is the richest city in Germany. A bunch of freaking industry. And I talked to these people, right? And their brain cannot go past 2 + 2. It cannot conceptualize anything outside of the linear path. And it's mind-boggling to me because I hear them talk about physics and all these weird different things, and they sound like a genius. But if you have some sort of conversation about World War II history, for one, but anything else, it's like, it doesn't compute. It's like they start going like, like a robot starts going on fire, right? So the Euros are weird. The only other people I've had problems with too are in Latin America. Obviously, we've done a lot of stuff here with the Monroe Doctrine, the CIA, and all that kind of stuff, but it's mainly younger, educated, like in the universities here, dyed hair, tatted up Latinas that have already dated gringos before they got their heart broken, okay? And I'm not saying don't talk to them, and I'm not saying they're bad people, because I've had a lot of beautiful times with them. Like, you become friends with them after they test you like, oh, you're stupid American. They still want to hang out with you. They still love you, but they'll show you beautiful times. And they speak English, right? Which is rare. But other than that, right, no, people fucking love Americans. And obviously people are mad about what our government is doing in certain stances. But once you like explain to them like, hey, this is what every freaking superpower's done in history, and we've done it more benevolent than anyone else before us. They start, okay, maybe you're making sense. I said, do you want China to come down here? I think China would be great in Brazil. If China could come to Brazil and make this place efficient and safe and not fucking chaotic, I mean, shit, I'll become a Chinese shill any day, but I don't think it's going to work down here, and they're not going to like it at all.
Yeah, I mean their road building initiative. It always comes with strings attached, right? I mean, oh, they'll build a road in Pakistan. They'll build a road in Africa. Well, guess what? Now you're owned by China, and the U.S. has never done things like. Oh, at least they have done some things like that. I would say that very, very small cases in which that has been done. But yeah, by and large, I think absolutely we've been the most benevolent force in the world, especially the free world, and we've helped out. Yeah, think of what we do, like. Yeah, okay. Your example of World War II. I am right now in a house. This is kind of a cool story. I'm not even 3 miles from Omaha Beach. And the D-Day celebrations were a week and a half ago, something like that, 2 weeks ago. And you would think, okay, there's a lot of Americans that are going to come here. They're going to get dressed up. They're going to ride their tanks onto the beach. 95% French. Everyone there was French. And of course, there were some American troops there for the celebrations. And it's the 81st year. So last year was the big year, 80th anniversary. And they have such a respect and love for what America did for them, for freeing a nation. Of course, we were bombed, Pearl Harbor and everything, but we kind of saved the free world, along with the English and several other people who landed on the beaches of Normandy. But just the respect and the interest they have in that period. There's tons of Frenchmen around here who own tanks. You can legally own a Sherman tank here in France, as long as it's not weaponized. And they buy all the Willys Jeeps. They buy all the uniforms. In fact, my wife's father, he bought this house because he's so interested in World War II history. The entire house is filled with photographs of an airfield back here behind the house in which planes landed and took off. It was an English airfield with Spitfires. And the house was actually occupied by Nazis for 2 years before the Normandy landings. And on D-Day, they evacuated, and they were Nazi officers. And then it was used as a base for Americans. And some of the 82nd Airborne guys in here, some of the 101st Airborne guys were here helping out the building of the actual runway here. But I was so encouraged by the Europeans here that they actually respect it and they don't just take it for granted, which I think is the consensus of Americans. Like, oh, Europeans take what America's done for granted. Not these people. But
yeah, a lot of points there. Very interesting story. I'd love to see that house someday. Yeah, the Lend-Lease Act, too. They say, oh, the Soviets did it. No, we gave them all the freaking weapons and food and all that, to go in there and so forth. But I will say about China, okay? I was in Kenya, and they've built a lot of things there, the Chinese, okay? And they built the railway from Nairobi to Mombasa. And where I hit back at it, it's like, okay, this railway is like a third-tier regional Polish train level. Like everyone, the pro-Chinese say, oh my God, look what China's doing for everyone. But I saw this, I said, really? I hope you didn't pay too much for that, right? But in Nairobi, they were building a lot of buildings, and I met a Chinese girl who had like an uncle that was pretty high up in all these like construction deals and all that kind of stuff. And she told me that they're not paying back the money in Kenya. And I said, oh my God, isn't this like a big problem? Are the Chinese getting pissed? Are they, doing some wild stuff? And they said, no, not really. Like, we're just trying to figure out a way. So it's a nuanced topic. I definitely don't think China is the savior to everyone's answer like a lot of other people do, but very nuanced.
I'd love to hear more about those dangerous places that you've gone to, and kind of some of the experiences or maybe stories that you might have actually had in the favelas, in the floating villages, or in Africa. Like, did you ever have an experience where you're like, holy shit, this is dangerous? And I would also love to hear about I know that's several things you got to talk about, but your almost death experience that happened, I think it was South America.
Yeah, I'll talk about a couple of these.
Near death.
Okay, the favelas, in my opinion, is probably the safest places you could go in Latin America. Why? Because the favelas are on lock, okay? All the bad people, the criminals, they do their business in the centros of Brazil, or they go outside the city. In the favela, in the slums, you get killed, real quick if you start messing around with the wrong people. So if you go into these places and you know people, okay, or you're really friendly, for the most part, you're not going to have a problem whatsoever. And these people are great. They know how to have a good time. Some of them have like beautiful places. They looks like shitty on the outside, but on the inside, you're like, holy crap, you're living better than, someone in the suburbs in Brazil type thing, right? So the favelas get a crazy rep, but I think a lot of it's getting cleaned up, and a lot of it is more like, okay, they've created their own little compound kingdoms inside of there, and they do all the dirt outside of it, right? The Southeast Asia, the floating village, the Cambodia and Siem Reap I went to, and not the tourist one. I saw those on the boat and all that, but I went to like the ones that no tourists are going, and that was interesting. Like I went there the first time after the tour. I was stumbling around with this Russian friend I met in Phnom Penh who was escaping the war, basically. Great guy. But we went in there with nothing and just walked through, and they were having like some sort of party. They're like, hey, come here, enjoy. Never asked for nothing. Like weren't coming up to us and trying to do anything stupid. Just like, hey, check out our place. You can record, do whatever you want. And it was like super friendly. It was really weird. Like I was like, damn, this is like, usually they're going to attack you for money, or not attack you, but just beg you, right? And then so after that, I was talking to my friend, I'm like, damn, we got to go back. Like we got to go bring candy for the kids. Like they were so friendly to us. Like this is super nice, right? So we went back with a shit ton of candy, right? And when we did that, and we went in there, and I was telling like the main guy, yo, hey, we have some candy. Where should we deliver it? We went to the soccer field, and this place is like total trash everywhere. It's usually flooded. I mean, extreme poverty. Probably the most poverty. Maybe Kibera is worse in Africa, but it's really bad. And so I get out there, and they all follow us, right? All these kids, like 50 kids, and then some parents are starting to follow us, right? And we're like, hey, get in line, right? Because I'm going to give out candy to each person. We take out the bags, and all of a sudden, freaking hyenas. Everyone jumps on it, tearing it apart, taking whatever they could. And we're like, what? No, stop. What are you doing? And like even parents just took the candy and ran away instead of giving it to the kids. And then kids were crying after, and I was like, that is fucked up. You know what I mean? Like instead of everyone getting one piece, it was dog eat dog, and it was really sad. Yeah, but Kibera in Nairobi is really fucked up. That's the largest slum in Africa, and it's more safer now. I did a tour. Okay, so I went with a local. It was just me and the local, and so that was better. But that is extreme poverty, bro. Those people make $30 a month, $1 a day if they're lucky, and HIV is rampant, open sewage, barely anyone has their own bathroom. It's all like young kids too. You rarely see anyone over like 40, 50 years old because they died. Like everyone dies young in Africa, right? So it's fucked up. Like the African, the Kibera was like a whole. It was like, how the hell is this even possible in this world? Like, it's that bad. And then guess what? There's so many NGOs there. And they said majority of them are corrupt. Money never comes here. They pocket it. They take off. Similar to like the Southeast Asia where the parents just took the candy and left everyone else to rot. It makes you think different.
And so you think that's crazy, dude. I mean, the fact that you were like, let's go back, that takes a certain kind of person. You know what I mean? And it's so sad to hear that kind of like, that's an extreme scarcity mentality like we're talking about. So you think that's the worst place you've been to in terms of the third world? Like this is like hell on earth almost.
Yeah, I need to go to India because I heard it gets bad too there. But dude, Kibera is like hell. And the people are nice. The people are being friendly to me, and I met some good people. I still have to release that vlog in the podcast I did with someone there, but it was just like. You can't even imagine it, dude. It's that fucked up. Like the favela, they had they had to tap someone illegally in Kibera. Some guy, mafia or something, illegally taps electricity from Nairobi and then sells it off to everyone else for like $1 a month. So they have like, dude, I went into this guy's room, okay, and it's like a middle lower class in the Kibera, and it was the size of not even an American bathroom. He had like a stove, he had a TV, his bed, and then like a little living room, like right next to each other with a curtain, right? And his kids would sleep on the floor next to his bed at night, his two kids with his wife. I'm telling you, it's like not even the size of a bathroom. Total poverty. It's a mud shack, the outside. I mean, it's bad, really bad.
And is that the kind of place you think that is ever going to get better? I mean, did you see any industry there? Did you see any hope? I mean, or was it just like corrupt government? Was it just complete lack of any infrastructure? You said it got a little bit safer, I think, but I mean, in what way? Is it just completely ruled by gangs who now have it on lock, or what do you think changed?
Well, supposedly they have someone in the parliament or the mayor, I don't know, that helps them out. But like I met this girl there that spoke great English. She's a teacher. And the way she was talking to me, I mean, sounded pretty educated, talking about, okay, here's how we can improve the situation. Like I'm talking about like online work. Like, can you guys, they had one computer lab in the whole village, like a cafe, internet cafe. I'm like, damn, why don't you guys just try to like find some online work and they'll pay better than $1 a day? And they're just like, Nick, it's like to get to the cafe, we have to pay, $2 a day or something. And like, they listed a lot of different struggles. Okay. And then also in Kenya, they're extremely like classist, right? So they don't want to deal with any of the people from these slums. Okay. They're usually from like the interior, from the farms. They go there for work. They don't find nothing. They land in the slum because they can't get back home. Right. But yeah, they did clean it up because I guess there was a local person there that decided to just start killing people when they fucked up, and they would execute them in the street so everyone would see. So if you stole someone's phone or you did whatever then they would take you out, in the middle of the morning and then shoot you in front of everyone. So it kind of got a little better. But going in there alone, like without a guide, they say you're going to be in trouble.
Yeah.
Do I see a future? No, I mean, I don't. I don't see a future. I don't. I think it's just, yeah. I mean, the people aren't bad either. That's the crazy part. But this is the part about like the third world too. They bash the Western world. They bash USA. They do all this kind of stuff. But literally how they treat their fellow people is like dirt, like just total shit, right? They had decent money. I mean, they could spread some money around. It's just total corruption, and they put them all in this little freaking ghetto and say, good luck.
Yeah, it's crazy to think that it's not just like the fact that it's a corrupt place. It's not just as poor. It's that there's such a lack of respect for human life. Like for instance, my friend who used to race F3, not F2 or 1, but he was trying to make it to F1, didn't quite make it. He told me stories about when he went to go drive in India and the racetracks there, and how he's just going through like these horrible parts of India where dead bodies will just lay on the side of the street for just like weeks. Right, because it's of course sanitation is an issue, and of course it is a horrible place. But at the same time, it's like death is just a part of life to them, and they don't see it as a bad thing. It's like this, it's just a lack of respect and a lack of like appreciation for human life, and that leads to people doing horrible things to each other, people not caring about each other around them, and then all of a sudden they treat each other like shit, and then they wonder why. It's because it's a lack of philosophy. It's bad ideas. And it's so sad to see. But I wanted to ask you about the places you've been to. Was there any place where you were like, everyone online says, oh, this is a kick-ass place, you got to come here, it's amazing, but you just found to be like completely overrated? Like it's all Instagram and all hype, and actually there's no there. Was there any place like that?
No, I'm blessed. So everywhere I go, I, for some reason, enjoy and find positives. Doesn't mean I'll always go back to every place, but it's weird. Every freaking travel I do, I take something from it. I like it. I'm not fiending or dying to get out of there. It's crazy. Like, nothing comes to my brain where I'm like, damn, I wish I didn't go there at all.
Yeah. That's really encouraging to hear, because as a person, I haven't traveled a ton. I've been to Western Europe, I've been to the United States. I haven't been to the kind of places you're talking about that are extreme adventure. I'd like to go, but of course, like most people, I'm a little bit scared. Especially not going with a local. I think that's probably a hack that maybe you've discovered. You got to go with someone that's from that place. Like I want to go to Naples. That's one of the places I've always wanted to go because I love Italian suits. I love Italian tailoring, and on my page, we talk a lot about suits and tailoring. Everyone I talk to here in France and in the U.S. is like, oh, you can't go to Naples. It's ruled by the mob. It's this dangerous place. I'm sure you've been there, so I'm curious to hear your thoughts on that. But it's like, yeah, you got to go with this local. Even in Marseille, I was talking to a friend of mine who he's originally from Marseille, lives in the north of France now. And he's like, dude, don't go to Marseille if you don't like. You're not with me or with someone you know. I'm like, it's Marseille. It's France. It can't be that bad. Have you been to Naples? Have you been to places like that? Is it? Are people just like scaring you, and it's really not that bad, or what?
Yeah, I've been to both, Marseille and Naples. No, dude, like anywhere in Europe, you're gonna be totally fine. Not a worry. I will say, Marseille is weird. It's like half of it is like freaking North Africa, like third world dump. And North Africa's not that bad. Tunisia is great. I like it, but it's still very dirty. I still like it a lot, very safe. But another half of Marseille is like freaking rich, aristocratic, noble, 1900s, beautiful shit. 1800s, like mansions, by the river, Monte Cristo or whatever, the island is based off there, off Marseille. Is beautiful. There's a beautiful cathedral on top too. I don't know if it's Notre Dame, the second one or something. Not the one in Paris, but Marseille is great, dude. Bourdain likes that a lot. Naples, no, dude. Like the Italians all told me that too. They say, "Oh, you're gonna get robbed and all that." They're great, like pickpocketers. I guess the best ones in the world. So if you take public transportation and whatnot, watch out. But no, I had a great time there. I roamed around Hakuna Matata. The only thing I did see, it was like sunset. And I was walking on top of a place. I forgot, on a road, but it had a beautiful like view. And I was like, wow, this is beautiful. And then to the right of me, I saw some kid getting jumped by like 5 kids. They're like 13 years old. I was like, what the hell? So I go in there. I'm like, hey, stop it. And then they let the kid go and they ran away. And that was my only issue. But I think 99% of the world and people are good. Okay? So, yeah, every once in a while you're going to come across a bad apple and you're going to be wrong place, wrong time, and that's the cost of, living. But I've been robbed one time, okay? I've told the story before. I was in the central Brazil being a total jackass gringo. Like, I deserved it, basically. And they only got me for a necklace. But other than that, I've been totally fine. It's all about your vibe, not being a little wimp, and realizing that most people want the same as you. They want their family to be good. They want to eat. They want happiness. And they're not looking to hurt other people.
Yeah. That's surprising. Yeah, because I notice a lot, especially on social media. If you watch Instagram reels about Europe or about, they'll scare you. They'll tell you that, London has been completely overrun by Arabs, or Paris is the same way. You go there, dude. It's bullshit. It is such an amazing place. Everyone's on the cafe drinking, having fun. There's very little danger. Yes, there's pickpockets. I didn't grow up. I lived in New York City for many years. There's pickpockets there too. Not as much as in Paris, but there's more crazy people, I tell you, in New York. You think New York is the center of the world, and it is in many ways. But at the same time, you get on the subway, and there could be a guy getting on there who's cracked out of his mind, who could just stab you or do some crazy shit. And it's like, I don't feel that in Paris. I do try to watch my pockets, and I'm vigilant, and you look people in the eye, and you stand towards the edge, and you make sure you got your phone and you're in the right pocket and everything. But yeah, it's not that bad. Instagram will make you think that the whole world is this dangerous place. It's not.
Abundance versus scarcity, and I'm 110% certain majority of those accounts that post all that is totally to make money or have nefarious intentions. Just like when the Russians did. They organized both the far right and far left protest in somewhere in USA. They were behind both accounts. This Christian nationalist group and these far left lunatics. The Russians were controlling these accounts and got them to go fight each other, right? So to me, yeah, it's all bullshit. Like if you're not retarded, and I'm crazy, dude. I do a lot of crazy things, and I've been safe practically everywhere besides one time in Belo Horizonte. I've had instances, but if you just have some awareness, you're going to be fine. And it's way worth the adventure and the new things than being stuck in your room and scared shitless,
Yeah. Well, speaking of, we were talking about Europe a second ago. I'm curious at your thoughts on the mentality of Europeans versus maybe where you are in Brazil. Like, what is it that keeps bringing you back to Europe? Like, I know you want to come back here. Maybe you want to settle here at one point. I'd like to ask you that later, but is it the philosophy? Is it the talented Mr. Ripley vibes? Is it like just the beautiful architecture? What is it that draws you back? Is it the women? I mean, what is it?
Yeah, the Euro lifestyle. I think there's nothing that competes with that lifestyle, enjoying the most out of life, still being productive, focusing on arts, creating, the safety, obviously, um, cities built over thousands of years, the history behind it, the style. I love Europe. Yeah, I don't think I could live there full time because I get very bored after a certain amount of time, where I'm fiending for adventure or some sort of chaoticness. But then on the flip end, when I get that, I fiend the Euro lifestyle. Luckily, I finally went to Argentina early this year, and I felt so much of the European vibe with a little Latino spice that I think maybe that could do it for me. And I can stay in the New World hemisphere because it's obviously good for business, it's good for traveling and so forth. But I think, yeah, I'll do the Mediterranean summer. There's something like the Mediterranean summer. No one can beat that. And yeah, it's just obviously I have European blood, so I think I have a calling there. But the Euro lifestyle is probably my answer to that.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, I've only been here 3 months at this point, and I feel it. It's like I'm a productive person. You know, I have work. I have my work is my core purpose, right? But at the same time, I love style. I love drinking. I love going out to eat. I love all these things. And I remember being back in New York. It's like it's all work and nothing else. And I appreciate that. I appreciate the drive of Steve Jobs. I appreciate the drive of those guys in Wall Street. I appreciate the drive of those like extremely business-oriented people. But, you know, if you only do that, you miss out on the Mediterranean summer. You miss out on sailing from Marseille to, you know, Corsica. You miss out on just like this kick-ass living life to the fullest. And I find that you're right. It's like there's a good combo of it. You can work hard, but you can also kind of accomplish great things at the same time. And I'm curious do you think that is superior to, you know, that mentality is superior to elements of the American mentality? Or do you think that it's really just kind of like, oh, Europeans are lazy and they've kind of landed on this like, yeah, you should live life and work too. But because it seems here that the mentality is we work to live, not live to work. And I think America is, at least a lot of people, it's we live to work. I tend to go with the live to work, but I also want to live too. Do you think that there's a distinction to be made there? Or do you think that there's some superiority there?
I've been saying for a while, the trifecta for me currently is American mindset. So that's that delusion, that's that confidence. European lifestyle, so that's enjoying life, you know, enjoying the creative arts and philosophy and all that in a third world paradise. You know, you got the beautiful beaches, the people that if they have one beer, they're happy for the rest of the day. You know, they get the most out of life. So if you can hit the three trifecta, I think you're good. You're going to be very happy. But yeah, obviously, I think the Euros have laxed a lot because their ancestors built what they have now, okay? And they were not lazy people. They sailed every freaking sea and created practically everything we use today, right? So there's a healthy balance. There's a mix. And work can be living too. That's what I do with freaking Bull Perceptions, okay? Yeah, I'm not monetizing it extremely, but it's a beautiful creative outlet that fulfills me, right? And that's still work to any other person, okay? So it's very nuanced, that conversation, but the trifecta I said is what I do.
Yeah, that makes sense. And, you know, with the Bold Perceptions, it's about ideas, right? And it's also about your lifestyle, right? Do you think that lifestyle will end in the next few years? I mean, do you think you will settle down?
Yeah, I don't think Bold Perceptions is just about traveling. I think it's more about, like you said, ideas. And I think it will transcend my next stage in life. I don't think I'll ever be fully committed to one spot at all. Most likely it would be two bases because I don't like winter. So I can do the European summer, then I can do the Latin America summer that's flipped, right? And mix in some crazy travel every once in a while because I'm still going to want to see new cultures, see new things, break pattern recognitions. And I think nowadays with how globalized the world is, it's not as complicated to raise a kid in two different bases, right? So especially if he's in school or she for 6 months of the year in one place, and then in the summer you go freaking learn how to play soccer and eat pasta in southern Italy with my friends that I'll have come down visit me, like you'll be fine, right? Speak multiple languages, be an international person. Because that's the only thing that's going to be challenging, right? Is raising a family without concrete roots, okay? So, but no, I think I will not be settled in one place, and I think I'll do both perceptions even when I stop traveling. I think it's way bigger than just my travels. It's about ideas, networking, diary, and connecting with people.
Yeah. No, I agree. It's interesting that you talk about the family right now, because my next question was kind of going to be about like dating abroad, finding kind of meaningful interactions with women. Do you find, you go to a lot of places where I'm sure a lot of women don't even speak English. Do you try to avoid those kind of interactions, or do you have a way to just kind of get around that? Like, have you had any kind of interactions, relationships with women who just barely speak your language, and maybe it's more physical, maybe it's more vibes when you communicate? I'm sure it can't last too long. Maybe it can for you. I don't know. I'm curious to hear about your experience there, though.
Yeah, Casanova could only dream about my life. Okay, so that's the blessed part about being growing up in this time and having access to Google Translate and Airbnb and Uber and in a globalized world. But yeah, hedonism gets old very quick. I definitely think people should taste different things to know what they actually like. So when they have it, they can settle down or they can compare and contrast. But yeah, it's very tough, the relationships. I have had 4 amazing, beautiful relationships that were somewhat longer. I mean, 6 months at least each. And I learned a lot from those, okay? And all of them, besides one, still keeps in contact with me, still says very good things, said, oh my God, it was great what we learned, and no hard feelings, etc. But every single one of those 4, even though it was perfect in my brain and this is what I wanted and so forth, there was something deep down calling me to stay on my path, okay? And it hurt. Right. It hurt a lot. Not just staying there or figuring out a way to be with them and dismiss those feelings I was having. So I took off, right? I left. And every single time I did that, something better came along. Something that was more in line to what I wanted, how I was feeling. It hurt for like a couple weeks, a month. I was sad. But as long as you don't pout, as long as you don't bitch, the universe rewards you for trusting your gut. Because your gut is always freaking right. And now I'm in a relationship that is more than I could ever imagine, okay? It's everything I wanted, piece by piece, keeping my freedom, everything. So, it works out. Now, in a couple months or a year, if it doesn't, I'm going to do the same fucking thing. But this is the one that's meant to be. It's meant to be. I think a lot of people, they settle, like really settle, okay? And they're afraid. They're afraid to go back into the jungle alone and figure it out. But I'm not afraid of that, So I know everything's going to work out.
Abundance mentality. We keep coming back to that.
That's the title. That's somewhere in the title it will be abundant.
Yeah, it's got to be in there somewhere. But back to the language thing. I was curious. So did all those women speak English or some of them speak broken English? Or
yeah, so I told you the high class in all the world speaks English, right? And right. It doesn't mean, I wish I could tell you something, but I can't say in English because there's words in other languages that don't translate, basically. But every single one of those girls I could have fluent conversations with, right? Besides Carolina in Mexico. She was still good at English, but not fully, okay? And that was when I was younger. But no, I want to learn because I think English is not as beautiful unless you're like super poetic, intelligent, right? Like there's so many weird words in Spanish and Portuguese, Italian that I think are more loving, right? But no problem. And when it is like hanging out with girls who don't speak my language, it's a vibe, bro. Yeah, obviously doesn't last past 2-3 nights, but you can still have an amazing, beautiful time. I still have a girl from Colombia last year that could not speak a lick of English. We hang out a handful of times, and she writes me messages all the time about, wow, it was such a pleasure to meet, and we had such a beautiful time, and I appreciate you for it. And wow. Some dude listening to this would be like, oh, she's just a Colombian Latina trying to get money for her grandma. She never asked me for fucking money. Okay, I know she comes from money as well. And it was just, we had that moment together. We experienced something, didn't speak each other's language in a time, in a moment in life, and it was beautiful, okay? So that happens a lot. You know, it's about your vibe. A lot of people have skill issues. Okay, that's why they say all that bullshit. But no, you can have beautiful times without even speaking language to people.
Yeah. And again, with connecting with people, not just even the dating sphere, but like, when you go to a new place, okay, let's say, all right, you're in a new place, it's first week, you're getting set, maybe you're just getting to your schedule with a football team, or maybe you haven't even started playing yet, but what are the first like 5 things that you do? Okay, I need to go find a good local grocery store. Like obviously you're in your Airbnb or wherever you're staying now. Okay, where am I going to go get a drink? What are like a couple of things that you do that aren't necessarily your routine for your daily life, but like, things you need to go seek out?
You gotta get a phone plan, right? Now, luckily, I think Pangea Pass is gonna sponsor me, so you can get data anywhere in the world without having to switch SIM cards. So you got to do that. Walk around your surroundings, of course, to see what's going on, even though you should have done some research beforehand. Find somewhere to work, okay? Like right now we're dealing with some freaking Wi-Fi, but you find a good cafe or a co-working space. Gym, okay? Get into that routine. But for the most part, dude, I do not like autopilot. I have those 3 things, with the affirmations, the meditation, and getting some sort of fitness in. But otherwise, I don't want to get into some weird autopilot. I don't want to go to the cafe every single freaking day, right? Because when you get into that mindset, bro, that's when life goes super freaking fast, okay? There's a balance between routine, productivity, and autopilot. And the worst thing you can ever do is all of a sudden be in a city and then 5 months go by and you haven't fucking done shit, right? That's why the last month in Curitiba, every weekend I've been trying to go to new places in Parana or Santa Catarina just to get out of the things, and then before the season really starts hitting up, to feel alive. Otherwise, I'm getting in a routine. I'm going to the cafe all day. I'm working, going to practice, and it just gets fucking old. That's not why you travel, okay? You travel to get out of the mundane. So, but yeah, a couple of those things you need to get done right away for sure.
Yeah, that's interesting. You said the damn, I lost my train of thought. What was it you said right before that?
Autopilot?
Exactly. I was thinking about that the other day. Now that I've been here, I've only been here in France 3 months, like I said. My life feels like it's 3 years at this. Like this 3 months has felt like 6 months. And I've realized that when you kind of see the same things all the time, you see this inside of your apartment, you see the inside of your office, you see the train to work, you see, you don't commit those memories to your brain because you've seen it so many times before. Why would you remember that? It's not important information, right? So when you're always changing your environment, your memory is filled with more information. Therefore, your perception of time is skewed, right? And so if you want a cheat code to feel like your life is longer, that's it, man.
And you don't need to travel to do this. So when you do your daily commute to your freaking office, take a different route, okay? Go to a museum. Go take a salsa class, even though you don't like doing dancing, right? It's just doing different things to freaking snap your brain out of the mundane and the routine, because that's the only way to slow down time. Otherwise, shit. Bro, I just turned 30, okay? And I know I look very young, right? But
wow,
I've lived fucking lifetimes,
yeah.
dude. And I have zero midlife crisis. I have zero any of this stuff. Like, I feel amazing. I woke up today, sun is shining. Fuck, life is good. And that's because I've done what I'm talking about.
Yeah, it's incredible. I think that's why it's inspiring. I think a lot of people are going to want to, know what kind of lifestyle is, and obviously your advice on how to actually get into that kind of lifestyle, even if you're not even going to be, traveling, just like you said, changing up the routine. That's important to know. But I'm curious if, of course, you can't take a lot of things with you. You've got a suitcase, you've got, I don't know, maybe 5 possessions that you find important. Do you ever bring anything with you? Like, if I lost this, I'd be devastated, or do you kind of travel like a spy? Like, this is, if I lose anything here, I just get a new thing, like the gray man in a way.
Yeah, you become very minimalistic for sure. So you focus on what matters and what doesn't. If you lose something here, okay, it is what it is, move on. But I do collect souvenirs. I didn't when I first started traveling, really, 'cause I thought it was stupid. Yeah. But now I do, in little ones, right? And then anytime I go home, which is rare, I'll drop off all that stuff, right? Or if someone comes visit me, I'll say, hey, can you take this, put it back at home, because I have stuff back in Minnesota. But no, dude, like, possessions, the whole Fight Club quote, what you own ends up owning you, and all that kind of stuff, like that becomes true on the road. I don't want to be a you will own nothing and be happy type of person, okay? So I'm investing in different things. I'm creating on the digital world with Bold Perceptions. It's a freaking massive diary, what I have here. It's all down, written basically. So I'm still creating, still building stuff, but like fucking possessions and whatnot, it doesn't matter at all, right? Letters from important people, that's beautiful. Like I said, little, like a cork from a beautiful night on the beach somewhere, like saving that kind of stuff because you want those memories for sure later on. But everything else, fuck it. But I do need a notebook every day to write, like I said, and some headphones for the meditation. But other than that, I'm good. I will say though, for people that want to live this lifestyle, you need 2 of everything. Okay, 2 laptops, 2 phones, 2 credit cards, because one is done, 2 is one. So okay, your laptop breaks. Fuck, you want to go buy one in Brazil? You want to spend 3x the price of a MacBook here because they have crazy tariff prices? You're gonna be fucked, right?
Yeah.
So you need to have. That's an abundance piece too. Is where okay, if this laptop breaks, okay, I got another one, and I'll figure out when I go to Paraguay to buy a new laptop type idea.
So no Porsche then.
Not yet. I don't know if I want a Porsche.
Out of your suitcase now, can you?
Yeah, I don't know if I want a Porsche. I definitely want to get some like stripped down bike, so like, I'm in the summer of Latin America and I'm riding on the bike free as a bird. That movie, frick, the girl with the dragonfly, the girl with the dragon tattoo, her bike was so freaking cool. I like that bike a lot, but no, I'll get some old car. I don't know. I'm blessed though. I never was a car guy, which is great. I had cars growing up. I got my license when we do in USA, but I Uber everywhere. I do all that, so I never got really into the cars.
I'm unfortunately caught with the affliction. I want every car, but I'm an old car guy, so luckily I don't have to spend as much money as these Lamborghini idiots. But I want like now that I'm here in France, going to the south of France, sometimes I want like a little Alfa Romeo from the 70s. Not an expensive car, just a sexy Italian sports car. Would love to have an English Jaguar one day, and that's kind of the thing is like I'd like to travel and do all these things, but I'd also like to have that home base, like here in Europe. Just I can keep all my stuff here. I can maybe one day have my boat down in the south of France. But yeah, I can go live the lifestyle. And that's one of the cool things. And I'd say the benefits of living in Europe is like, okay, yeah, you got a standard 5 weeks vacation, but most ad agents, like I work in an advertising business, most ad agencies give you 8 weeks vacation. That's unheard of in the US. I mean, I think I had a technically unlimited vacation in New York, but that really means like 3 weeks. And through that, if you're going to ever want to take off 2 weeks, you better be getting married because that ain't happening at once. I mean, so yeah, but that's basically all I had. I mean, if you had like one little piece of advice to kind of give people to get started on this lifestyle and to actually like take the first step, I remember I heard a piece of advice from one of my mentors, a guy named Owen Cook from RSD. He was like, just move out of your hometown. Just go to a new place and live there. Like, that's the first step, right? I remember when I first started that, I was like, oh, fuck, I can do that. Well, I have never thought of that. And I'm an idiot of some kind. I never thought to just leave. And I moved to Miami. I moved to New York. Now I'm in France. So it's like, it's that winner effect. You stack those wins and all of a sudden I can do anything, right? Is that what you would say to people? Or is there one piece of advice you think that's more valuable to get started?
I go further. I say jump in the deep end. Fuck it.
Yeah.
See what happens. See where the chips fall. It's never going to be the perfect time. You're never going to have enough money. Everything's not going to be lined up. You just got to jump in the deep end, and you'll realize everything you worried about before, it was all talk in your head.
All right, my guy. Any big adventures coming up planned?
I think I'm going to do Chile, Patagonia for the summer. It looks freaking gorgeous. And then possibly, if things go on the right page, open up another branch of an office for a client of mine in Spain. So I'll go live there. And with that, I might be getting an Argentine passport and a Spanish passport in the coming years.
There you go.
That could be crazy. If I have those 3 passports, I got freaking USA, Mercosur, and Schengen. Oh, I'm a free man. No one can touch me.
I mean, no one can already touch you. Look at what you're doing.
True. Yeah, what was that thing? You want to finish on that, where your quote or the mindset? That was a good little piece you wrote. No man of one country or whatever you said. That was beautiful.
Oh yeah. It seems to me that you're a man of of no country. You've decided to kind of shed everything that has happened to you in the past, everything that was kind of you. Now you keep it in your head, but you live by no standard that anyone has set for you. You live by your own standard. And it's incredibly inspiring to see someone who's kind of a man of the world. You try to speak language. You're completely at home in any environment, like some kind of spy. Like I love the Gray Man novels. He'll go to any place in the world and he can just blend in, right? He's the kind of guy who can just like shapeshift. I mean, if you're a good spy, you have to be like that. And I think it comes from that place of independence, which I think you have, Nick.
Beautiful. I appreciate that. I will say I think I do embody the American spirit. I think I'm just doing what my ancestors did, just in a different way, going to find freedom, going to find opportunity, adventure, having balls, to leave everything. But yeah, I think this was just a manifestation of how I grew up and what was kind of put in my head. And you're influenced by everything, right? I don't think you come out the womb a certain way. Maybe you do, I don't know, but I don't regret anything. So Hakuna Matata. And it was a pleasure being on here. I hope this is a beautiful article. We're going to blast this off. We'll get in some Rolling Stone. We're going to have them co-edit it or something. But they're woke now, right? They're stupid. We can't even go on there.
No, we're gonna go for like not even GQ, like maybe The Rake or Gentleman's Journal or something like that.
All right, I'm excited. No, it's going to be beautiful. You're right, amazing, dude. So, and we got to talk more business after this as well, because let's get that agency popping so we can afford that English Jaguar and so forth.
Hell yeah.
All right, everyone.
All right, my guy.
Live bold.